Are you considering a job or a career change, but you keep putting it off for one reason or another? Well, I believe it's often our inability to consider what's possible for us that keeps us trapped in a situation where we're just not happy. And I arrived at this conclusion years ago, and I was reminded of it recently after I spoke to a woman who works as a manager at Target, and she's been there about 18 years. She busts her butt for the company, and she often says that she's not appreciated, and she feels like she's just a number, she says, just like everyone else who works for the retailer. Well, for the last few years, she's gotten a little bit more frustrated. She's wanted to quit, but she just keeps putting it off, and I think it's because she doesn't know what's possible for her. So there she is in the same situation day after day, week after week, year after year. I think if she believed in herself and figured out what type of job that she really wanted, she'd make getting that job a priority. She'd make it a goal, and then she'd leave. Now, if you're somebody who can't figure out what type of job you really want, I'm going to share with you a series of questions that I think may help you to find that answer. I'll share those questions with you right after this break. Welcome back to Over 50 TV. My name is Lou Reyes. Before the break, I was talking about how to determine what kind of job you really want. And I've got a series of questions that I'm going to share with you. I think once you answer these questions, and I'm going to say some of these are deep questions, I think after you answer them, they'll help you to determine what type of job you really want. And let's just start with question number 1. What is it that you don't want to do? Oftentimes identifying what we don't want out of a job or maybe even out of life, it can shine a pretty bright light on what we do want simply by considering the opposite. And let me give you an example. On a piece of paper, write down, this is what I don't want in a job. And you write it down. Maybe you don't want to commute. Maybe if you don't want to commute, you'd rather find a job that is either close to your home or maybe even a job that has you working out of your home. Consider the opposite. And I find the best way to do that is just by writing down a list. This is what I don't want. And it'll lead you right to what you do want. Number 2, do you hate conforming to rigid rules and regulations? Write that down. I don't want to conform to rigid rules and regulations. And sometimes there are jobs out there, we know, we've heard, we watch the news where you are expected to stay at that station in that office or maybe at that station at your job. You're expected to stay there for X amount of time. You're allowed to take a break. You're allowed to take a lunch. Maybe you can go to the bathroom. If that's too much for you, if that's too rigid for you, you know that. Write it down. Write down, I don't want to have to conform to rigid rules. And maybe what's best for you is doing your own thing. Maybe starting your own business. Maybe starting a side hustle. Write down, I don't like rigid rules. Question number 3. Are you feeling pressured to be someone you're not? Do you have to put on that fake smile every day? Do you feel you've got to say yes when you really know in your heart you want to say no? Well, the truth is you're never going to be happy unless you follow your own idea of what makes you smile. You're never going to be committed or prepared to let others dictate how you should spend your life and make a living. So look for a job where you don't have to be somebody you're not. You want to be who you are. Here's another question for you. What if anything was possible? What would you do with your time? Try thinking about this. Try thinking about this question without restraint or limitation. What would you do if absolutely anything were possible for you? Would you travel? Would you build? Would you create? Would you buy and sell? Where would you go? Who would you go with? How much time would you spend there? And ask yourself this question. How much money would you make? Here's another question to help you to figure out what kind of a job you really want. Ask yourself this. What would I be like if I could reinvent myself completely? And I mean completely. If you could turn back that clock and unload all the junk that you've accumulated, that you've collected in your mind and in your heart so far in your life. If you could eliminate all those mistakes, all those errors of judgment, and all that wasted time of the past, where would you be? What would you be doing? And who would you be doing it with? One other thing. Ask yourself, what if I seize some of those opportunities that I've turned down? Could I seize them? Can I seize them now? Some of the opportunities that I turned down that I refused to take. Where would my life be? Could it change? Could I reinvent myself? Ask yourself this too. What would the brand new me look like? What kind of work would I be engaged in? How much money might I be making? And how much joy would I have in my life if I reinvented myself? Here's one more question for you. Ask yourself this. Would that new me, would the new me be inspiring? If I looked at the new me, would it inspire me? I think answering this question is important, and I think this question can help you, could be one of the questions anyway, to help you to figure out what kind of a job that you really want. Here's another question, the last question that I would suggest that you ask yourself if you're trying to figure out what's the best job for you. Ask yourself this. What if my new career wasn't grandiose, world-class, or life-changing? Would that matter to me? What if my job was modest and relatively inconspicuous, but incredibly important to my heart and my soul? Just because some ideas are bigger, it doesn't automatically make them better, and I've learned that the hard way. What you're searching for here is a perfect fit for you, not a perfect fit or a good fit for somebody else. You don't have to live someone else's dream or somebody else's idea of what a great job is for you or what a great career is for you. Figure out what's best for you. That new career doesn't have to be grandiose. That new career could just be a good job where you're happy, where you're making a good living or a decent living. But it's a job that just makes you happy. And you know what? At the end of the day, that's really what matters. Well, folks, that's all I've got for you today. But I'm going to leave you. I'd like to leave you with this thought. What if you could identify what you really want? What if you could identify what you really want today? Would you get started? Would you begin exploring? Would you begin making that transition from where you're at right now to where you really want to be? The answers to these questions, they're going to help you to decide what type of job you really want. What type of job is the only job for you? And I want to stress something. It's not too late. No matter how old you are, it's not too late to work at a job or a career that makes you happy. It's easy to stay where you're at. I told you about the woman who works at Target. It's easy to stay where you're at. It's much harder to look at yourself and to look at your career and take those steps that will make you happy, truly happy, and take you to where you really want to be. It's time, in my opinion, if you are at a job and you're not happy, and you know that the days and the weeks and the months and the years are going by, and they're going by faster and faster as we get older, it's time to make a change. You can always find an excuse or a reason to stay where you're at. But you can find more reasons to leave. Come on. Well, that's all I've got for you today, folks. I do want to thank you for listening to this, watching this video. I think it was one of the important videos that I could do, because I do think it is hard. It is hard to figure out what kind of a job is right for you, what's best for you. And often what I find is when we don't know what we're looking for, we just stay where we're at, and we're staying in a place where we feel stuck, where we know there's no future, a place where, as I mentioned early in this video, where you feel that you're just a number and there's no satisfaction. There can be and is no better time right now than to look for a job, and especially with this economy and what we've going on now. So that's all I got for you. I do want to say, I shouldn't say that's all I got, because I do want to ask you to do a couple of things. One is give us a thumbs up. If you found this video helpful, if you enjoyed watching this video, please give us a thumbs up. I do think it helps the YouTube algorithm, although, as I've mentioned in the past, I almost don't know what the YouTube algorithm or what makes that algorithm happy. So I do know what could make or will make me happy is if you like the video, give me a thumbs up. The other thing I'm going to ask you to do is to subscribe to our channel. Subscribe to Over 50 TV. It's easy to do. Just hit that little red button. It's underneath your screen. And there is also a little bell. If you hit that little bell, by the way, if you hit that little bell every single time I upload a new video, you'll be notified in your inbox. Well, that is all I've got for you. And again, I want to thank you for listening and watching us here today. Something I always say, have a great day, everybody.